Hello and welcome to another Doctor Who figure review. I said that I'd be doing quite a few reviews in the Christmas period due to it being Christmas and me having quite a lot of spare time, and this is the result basically. I'm going to be doing a review of four Doctor Who custom figures that I've made between around September and now. One of them I actually have only just finished today, and this is the first of them. As many of you can probably realise, this is Adric, and let's basically get on with reviewing Adric. So first of all, Adric is made out of a pig slave, but not an ordinary pig slave. It's the Laszlo pig slave figure, mainly because of the height, and also the idea is basically just wearing a jumpsuit. So yes, the person who played Laszlo must be incredibly short, especially for a man. Probably not much taller than me, and I'm 5 foot. So he's probably about 5'4", and it's pretty much the perfect height to make Adric, because of course he's a teenage boy basically. So I started off by this is actually the original head. I started off by cutting off his ears, nose, and generally filing all his face down. I then managed to cut and sculpt his nose. As you can see, it's not perfect, but it is there, and it does for sort of an almost childlike nose that Adric has, because of course he is still very much a child. I then sculpted on his hair with blue tack. This is one of the last figures I used blue tack with. I only used blue tack because the hair needs to be quite thin and delicate. I would have used sort of an air drying clay instead otherwise. So yes, I did that. I then moved on to his sort of tunic thing, and I basically filed it down a little bit, just so it's smoother and I could mould back onto it. And I very carefully put a thin layer of blue tack. Again, I needed thin, so I had to use blue tack because I don't have milliput, and I don't use milliput. And I basically sculpted on. You can just see the line there. That's purpose. Well, otherwise I'd have covered. And I basically sculpted on a smooth-ish tunic thing. I then moved on to his waist, where I put the rope that he wears, that he gets at the end of, I think it's Full Circle, I can't remember. I'm really not good on season 18. It's the last season that I have yet to complete in the 4th Doctor era of watching. And I have seen the episode, and he gets that at the end of the story, because it's his brother's. And yes, it's just literally a tube of very thin blue tack. I then moved a bit further down and sculpted basically the edge of his tunic shirt thing. I made it 2 layers, so that because he has this weird undershirt. I then sculpted his pocket, and that was about it. I then painted him. Painting his face, getting the right colour. It's still not the right shade, but that had to do. I also filed down the mouth, so he didn't have weird hog-like teeth anymore. And I painted his mouth a sort of a pink colour. Did his eyebrows, painted his hair. Very basic colours really. Painting wise it's not that interesting. I'm not sure whether he wears black or white shoes. I'm pretty sure he wears white, but I gave him black just for the time being. That may be repainted if I ever use him, if I find out. If you know what colour he generally wore, please tell me and I'll probably repaint him. If not, he'll stick with black shoes. I couldn't find any reference photos for that. I then painted on his pocket and the little star that he has for being an absolute genius. The articulation on this figure, unfortunately, due to the amount of work I did on his head and sculpting and general painting, he no longer actually has movement at the neck. The line is pretty much gone due to the amount of paint. Also his hair stops his head from moving. He's quite stiff. He has limited articulation. Well, he has 360, but it's stiff in the shoulders. He moves at the biceps. Again, rather limited at the elbows due to the paint. At the wrists, he does kind of move at the waist. Again, it's rather stiff and things sometimes fall out of place. Kind of moves at the legs, his hips. Kind of moves in his knees, but really he is almost static. So yeah, he's not a great one for articulation. I'll probably only be using that sort of movement and that sort of movement if he's ever used in a figure adventure on my second channel, Long Stripy Scarf. So yes, really, that is Adric. He's not very interesting, but I thought I would make him because I quite like a simple thing to make, and it's generally good to have another companion. So yes, and he looks rather good with the season 18 Tom that they released quite a bit ago. There he is with the Tom Baker figure, season 18. Secondly are two figures that unless you are a member of Gallifrey Base or Whovians Create, you won't really know about this. I actually kept this a bit of a secret, but I made A Day of the Daleks Joe Grant Batman March recipe. Very, very good way to get quite a quick and very nice Joe figure. So thanks for doing a review on that Batman March. And this, I've remade my Brigadier because my old Brigadier, which I showed to people getting on for a year ago, it was about 9 months I'd say ago, that it was alright at the time, but I am capable of so much more now. I didn't do a hat, I didn't do a proper belt, I didn't even do little sort of colours on the high bit of his lapels. You know, really, really bad. Even the down bit, the lower bit of his jacket was poorly done. I mean, that was all done with blue tack, and to be honest, I really hate using it unless I have to do really small details. So I remade him. This is the Joe Grant figure. This is obviously made out of a Kylie Minogue Astrid Peth figure from Voyage of the Damned, the 2007 Christmas special, I think. She looks rather artificially blonde, unfortunately. So yes, literally what I did is cut her skirt down a bit, because she's a bit more revealing. Cut off the frilly bit of her dress. Remoulded basically everything there. Cut down her hair so it wasn't tied in a bun anymore, and I sculpted this rather wild, actually rather 50s for the 1970s kind of hair. It's a rather 50s style dress that she actually wears in this episode, rather unusually. because of course most of them would have been some of the latest 70s fashions, toned down a little bit. So yes, that's basically what I did, and then the rest was all repainting. I added sort of pocket things there, and that was all rather fun. The thing that really took the most time was painting on the pattern on her shirt. That took forever. I actually managed to get through, while making this figure, I managed to get through all of the very first series of audio adventures that feature Tom Baker. The recent ones, the very first series of them, I managed to listen to the whole thing pretty much all the way through in one go by making this figure. So that's the length of time that this took. Okay, yes, and I painted her boots that were already there. I also repainted her legs to get rid of the stocking colour and the line at the back. Articulation has pretty much remained the same. She no longer moves at the waist due to her tie. Her head moves a little bit, but her hair again doesn't move. Well, her hair obviously doesn't move, but it hinders the movement in the neck. The shoulders move rather stiffly due to the paint a bit. It's a bit odd. The elbows still move. I actually got this figure and it was slightly damaged. I got it as a just loose on eBay, and this arm was coming off and was a bit dodgy, so I had to actually super glue that back down. I couldn't fix that in any way. So that arm doesn't actually move apart from the at the elbow. There was also a bit of damage on her, can't remember what finger it was now, but I fixed it and repainted it there. That finger there, you can see a bit of damage, and I just, it's barely noticeable, and to be honest I don't really care. It did only cost me about £3. I think that was with postage, so very, very pleased with that figure. The second of these figures, well, technically the third, but the second of this sort of little set is the Brigadier, just generally, in a full uniform. This is just a remake. It's the exact same Captain Jack base that I'd actually used before. I just ripped everything off and started over. This is made using a sort of air drying clay. It's called, I don't know whether anyone's heard of it, but it's called Das Pronto. I think it might be German, by the style that things are done in, and quite a few of the instructions on the back seem to have sort of German as the second language, as it were. The pack that I actually used, and still use because it's huge, is older than me. My mum got it when, well, before I was even thought of, so that goes to show how old the pack is. So yes, I basically just moulded again, using the same Batman March recipe. The sort of the lower bit of the jacket, the pockets, buttons. I sort of remade the belt, put this sort of sash bit in, remodelled the lapels, the tubey bits there, and the sort of the, I don't know what you call them, I think they're called the flashes, that's it, I've forgotten. And yes, basically remade that. The only thing that uses blue tack is the tie and collar of the shirt, and that's because the air drying clay that I use, oh yes, and the moustache obviously, so you can see it's now split and not just a piece painted black like before, which was horrible, because the stuff I use is very difficult to do in any kind of thin way. I then also made the cap underneath this circle. I basically got a circle of card and covered it in this drying clay, and basically stuck it to his head and moulded the cap round. So unfortunately he now has to always wear a cap, but that's all right, probably. Yes, I don't have the Captain Jack that came with the hat, and even if I did, I probably wouldn't have taken it out of the packaging or be using it for a custom, because it is quite rare now because it's a Woolworths exclusive. The last bit I did on this figure was repaint little unit thing on the side. It does actually say unit. I was that careful with the brush.